not Spain. Yes, England. So England, they ended up setting up the first settlement in the Americas. So we're going to go over this. This will go for the next part, and then this will be the last part we cover. We'll start over here. So beginning of the journey. All right, beginning of journey. All right, so who's the leader in English society? We talked about hierarchies. We talked about all that. Who's at the top? Yes, the king is at the top. Does anybody know specifically who the king is at this time? King... No, not King Henry. Not King James. Starts with a G. George, yes, King George. So, what they had to do for this trip, they didn't just automatically have a bunch of money in their pocket and they were like, hey, you know, we're just going to go there. They need money to fund their whole expedition. So, King George, he funds, and a bunch of investors fund this trip to the Americas to create the first settlement. So, has anybody ever heard of a joint stock company? Anybody ever heard of that? All right, so we're going to explain what a joint stock company is. So this is important. It applies to your modern day life. This is where the first part where you see what an actual stock is. So a joint stock company, what do you think it is? Well, how do stocks work in modern day society? How does that work? All right, so you're going to buy a stock. So say you want an Amazon stock, correct? All right, so when you buy that Amazon stock, say it's $25 a share. When you buy one of those shares, what does that mean for you? What does that mean? Okay, you can get a profit in return, but you can sell it, okay, you can make profits off of it. But what do you have when you own that stock in a company? What do you own? Yes, you have property in the company. You own a piece of that company. That's what a stock is called. You buy a share, you have a share in the company. That's why they call it shares. So the whole purpose of this, of a stock, you sell it off later. So say Amazon comes out with the new Alexa or something. Does anybody have one of those? I think those things are creepy. They don't turn off. Yeah, they don't turn off. So, so say they come out with a new Alexa. You bought your shares for say $10 a share a year ago. So they come out with this new invention. Everybody's like, "Oh man, I want to buy this new invention." So what ends up happening is everybody's like, "Man, we want to start buying Amazon stuff." So your share, it'll be worth more later because of that new invention, the Alexa coming out. So say it goes up to $25 a share and you bought it for 10. So you got 10 shares, you sell it, what are you going to make? What'd you say? What are you going to make? You're going to make what off your selling your stocks? Yes, profit. So, big thing on the joint stock companies. We're comparing past to present. All right? So, joint stock company, investors. Investors allocate wealth to support a company. All right, so if they're trying to get profit, if these investors, they want to make money and allocate wealth, they put their wealth to support a colony. With their support and their money, what are they trying to get in return if this colony is successful? What are they going to get in return? Land. All right, land's the big thing. Perfect. So from this, they can gain land. And then eventually, what else are they going to gain? Comes with land.
Money.
Yes, money. So these are the things that they're going to gain. Is that all making sense? Can everybody read that?
Yeah.
It's kind of a little... I really don't like being on the side of the board writing. Like, I like being in the middle. I don't really like this side, or I don't like the corner over there. I don't write as well. I don't write good, period. So next thing. So, this joint stock company that they funded, it was called the Virginia Company. Virginia Company. The Virginia Company was this original joint stock company. So King George and the investors, they fund the Virginia company. Does anybody know where the word Virginia comes from? It's from a queen. Does anybody know queen specifically? Anybody know? Starts with an E. Elizabeth? Yeah, Queen Elizabeth. All right, so that's where Virginia comes from. So Virginia company. They fund the Virginia company. All the shareholders, the king, the royalty, everybody's like, hey, we're going to go to the New World. So, King George signs a charter. Does anybody know what a charter is? Say that you got a wrestling trip. All right, you got a wrestling trip, and what kind of bus do you take? Yes, a charter bus. So that's going to take you. It's an official transportation device that you ride in, mechanism. Okay, that's going to take you where you need to go. But big thing on this, it's an official permit, official approval for you to take transportation to a distant land. Does that make sense? All right. So official approval to travel. So if I ask you later, hey, what's a charter? You would say official approval to travel. King George approved this. All right, so they signed this charter, joint stock company. They fund everything. Everybody's got the money allocated. Where is the first settlement created in the United States? Where is it at? No, that's where they discovered. That's where they discovered the Americas, but they didn't really create a first permanent settlement there. Where is it? It's up here on the board. Yes, Jamestown. Good job. Context clue. All right, so we're going to go. So we're taking these notes and we're moving them over there. It's pointless for me to erase it, so I'll just leave it up. Just stick with me. I'll tell you where we're at each time. So just pay attention. So, does anybody know the date specifically?
I want to say 1670.
Oh, you're close. I'll give it to you. 1607. 1607. Mr. Brew threw away that stinking vinegar that y'all all hate. I haven't sprayed that in here, have I?
You have what you think once.
So before, when you were 40 years old or something like that, we ever talked about the first English settlement ever created in the Americas, you would say 1607, Jamestown. Always remember that. I remember that ever since I've been a kid. I love history, though. Does anybody here like history? Yeah, it's cool. It applies to you in a certain sense. So, first settlement of Jamestown is created. All right? What did they travel on? What type? What'd you say? Yeah, ships. So they traveled on ships. The different ships that they traveled on. They traveled on the Susan Constant, the Discovery, and the Godspeed. So if you're on Jeopardy one day, make sure you know those. But just know they traveled by ship. So they traveled by ship to the New World. They arrived with 150 passengers. You think that's enough? No. How many people would you bring? Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like 1,000, but also too, you got to think you would need way more ships.
It's still red. Sign out, please.
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Hey, I'll see you later. I'll get you this assignment next class. Well, actually, here before you leave, think this. You're going to create your own settlement. If you have any problems, you know, you're going to create it. You're going to draw on it.
I need the other one too.
All right, the other one, I'll give it to you next time. Just fill out these questions at first on how you create a successful settlement. If you need questions on this, create your own settlement. It's pretty simple. But if you have trouble, just see me next class and I'll give you time. All right? All right, so we looked at all this. They settled along the James River. See you later. So let's look at this. They show up to a new world, they colonize it, they've never lived there before. Who do you think's living there?
Native Americans.
Yeah, the Native Americans.
Indigenous.
So they show up in this area and create this English settlement. They name it Jamestown, and they name it the James River. What do you think about that? Because when we talked about the English society, how did they set everything up based on land ownership?
Money.
Yeah, so they believed in what?
Hierarchy.
No, well, hierarchy, but they believed in what? If they're naming these things, what do they believe in?
Ownership.
Yeah, land ownership. All right, the natives do not believe in these different types of things. So this is why they create this problem. They're showing up, they're naming it the James River, they're naming it Jamestown. This is why the Native American resistance was created in their whole society. So next thing. You show up to a world that you've never been to before. You think everything started off pretty good? No. And we'll talk about the area right here with the negative conditions. So, negative condition. Let's look at one of them. They show up the James River. The James River is a really dirty type of river. It's really murky. It's not a good, solid river. All right? The rivers that we live in, would you drink the river water out of the Potomac? I swim in it, but I wouldn't drink it.
Isn't there like straws?
I mean, what do you mean?
Like the disinfectant ones that gets all the.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. They're pretty expensive, though, but I think they last for 6 months. Yeah. I've never tried it. I don't know if I'm going to. But, so first thing, disease from contaminated water. That's the first negative condition. What do you need to survive? What's one of the things you need to survive? Yes, you need water. You need clean drinking water. All right, the next thing. Let's look at the area that they're in. Has anybody ever been to Jamestown? Has anybody ever been? All right, so it's in the Tidewater region in Virginia. There's 3 sections of Virginia. There's like the mountainous regions over to the left. Everybody knows kind of how Virginia's set up, right? So all the way to the right side of Virginia. Isn't Virginia surrounded by water on one of the sides on the end? Yeah, so what this area is, off of a lot of beaches and things like that, there's certain inland,